Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining our Enhancing Your Azure DevOps Workflow and looking at Copilot for DevOps Plus. Before we begin, just a few reminders. We will be sending the recording of this webinar to your inbox by the end of the week. It'll also be available on our website in the next couple of days. We've allocated some time at the end of the presentation for Q&A. But also feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A window at any time. Please do not ask any questions in the chat. We'll address these as best as we can at the end of the webinar. If we run out of time and we couldn't get to your questions or additional questions come up after the fact, you can always send us an email at info@modernrequirements.com. Again, that's info@modernrequirements.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. There's also a survey that will pop up at the end of the webinar. Please take a few moments of your time to provide your valuable feedback so that we can keep improving on these webinars so we can suit your needs. First, I want to thank everyone for joining today. Our session is on how we can enhance your Azure DevOps workflow with our new toy, Copilot for DevOps Plus. My name is Sheehan. I am the Senior Vice President of Global Sales here at Modern Requirements, and I'm going to serve as your MC today. To give you a high-level agenda, we're first going to start off with a couple of polls. Your input is obviously very important to us. We'll then move on to a brief background of who we are as Modern Requirements, the makers of Copilot for DevOps Plus. Then we're going to go and have our product visionary, Asif Sharif, conduct a demonstration of the new capabilities of Copilot for DevOps Plus. And finally, we'll wrap up today's session with a Q&A session where we can show you different things, you can ask your questions, and that's how we'll close out our webinar today. To kick the festivities off, here's our first poll, and the question should appear on your screen momentarily. It would be great if everyone can select an answer as each question pops up. Okay. I'm going to give everyone another moment. Okay. So we have, so most people have yet to see it. So we got 67%, no, not yet. Okay, interesting. The next question. How familiar are you with Copilot for DevOps? Okay, we'll give everyone another moment. So most folks have yet to try it. That's what it's looking like. Interesting. So we have a treat for you today. And the third question. If you've used a tool before, what did you like the most? I mean, most folks have not used it before, so it'll be interesting of the folks who have. Okay. So it looks like the most folks who have used the tool before really liked elicitation. Me too. It's a rapid way of brainstorming and really understanding if you've captured everything you needed to by leveraging AI to support your brainstorming. So that's great. Thank you everyone for participating. There will be another couple of poll or a question and a couple of polls towards the end, so stay tuned. So that being said, time is our ultimate currency. If you've interacted with me or my team or attended any of our previous webinars recently, you've likely heard our battle cry. We here at Modern Requirements are passionate about this statement because we consistently are looking for ways to make our tool help you save time, help you be more accurate to reduce rework, and ultimately reduce the time to value on whatever projects you're working on. We've been helping clients for over 20 years. And just over 13 years ago, we partnered with Microsoft to bring our requirements management tooling to Team Foundation Server, aka TFS, and we did so natively. So in 2018, TFS was rebranded as Azure DevOps, and our requirement management extension evolved too. Since the very beginning, we've been the only natively built requirements management tool for Azure DevOps, which still stands true through to today. Some of the benefits of choosing Azure DevOps with modern requirements enabled are: one, we are a Microsoft partner, and we work closely with your Microsoft account team for your organization. Two, our offerings are available on the Azure Marketplace, which simplifies your procurement process. Three, our offerings can apply against your organization's Microsoft Azure consumption commitments, also known as MAC for short, which is a benefit to your organization overall if your organization has a MAC in their agreement. And for folks from the Microsoft teams who are joining today, we are co-sell ready, so we can partner with you to help your clients get the most out of their Azure DevOps experience. Our relationship didn't stop with just requirements management. Last year, we dove in headfirst into an AI implementation within Azure DevOps and within modern requirements, and we were partnering with Microsoft. So much so that Nicole Dezen, who you see on the screen here, is the Chief Partner Officer and Corporate VP of Global Partners, highlighted us as a key AI transformation partner to Microsoft in last year's Inspire. Fast forward to today, we're going to be showing you Copilot for DevOps Plus, which is our next big leap forward in using AI in requirements management in the Azure DevOps experience to really enhance that experience and enable you to save time, be more accurate, and ultimately have fun while you do your work. For the folks who have not had exposure to modern requirements in the past, I wanted to quickly share with you the capabilities that modern requirements as a requirements management suite offer. At the top of the screen, you'll see all the different capabilities that Azure DevOps offers today. Everything below are all the capabilities that modern requirements adds natively into the Azure DevOps experience. What we're really going to be focusing on today is going to be Copilot for DevOps. Now, it is a tool that's included within modern requirements, and Copilot for DevOps Plus, the next iteration forward, is what we're going to take a deeper dive into today and look at what improvements we've made. Before I dive into Copilot for DevOps, what we have today, and then looking at Copilot for DevOps Plus, the new capabilities, and looking at the demo, I have a question for you folks. Give us 3 challenges that you hope Copilot for DevOps should overcome. Please drop your answers in the chat. I'll give everyone a moment. Okay. Technical. Okay. I want you all to keep this in mind, because after we do the demonstration, I'd like you to think about if Copilot for DevOps Plus has answered those questions, or maybe even taken it a step further and shown you things that are achievable within the Azure DevOps experience using Copilot for DevOps that you never even thought were possible. So let's talk about where it all began. So last year, we launched at the end of the year, in November, we launched Copilot for DevOps. And in that, we launched 9 capabilities. We launched the ability to do analysis to help you use the 6C methodology and help improve your existing work items within ADO. We launched the ability to elicit to help you rapidly brainstorm and sanity check to ensure that you've covered all of the possible requirements. We've had the ability to, of the 9, is the ability to convert to Gherkin, convert to user stories, convert to use cases, and eliminate that work, that manual work you would have had to do to converting into those different formats. We added capabilities such as paraphrasing, summarizing, or even elaborating on a work item. And then lastly, one of the ones that many of our clients, overseas and around the globe found useful was the ability to translate. So if you're working with your clients and they are looking to interact in a different language, Copilot for DevOps was able to support you in doing so. Now, keeping in mind, Copilot for DevOps, this iteration was launched November of 2023. As of January, end of January, beginning of February, we're already launching Copilot for DevOps Plus, which is the next iteration. What was really exciting about 2023 for modern requirements and for Copilot for DevOps was that the overwhelming positive response we received. We had, year-over-year growth. We even doubled the number of users of modern requirements in 2023. We were also ranked at the top of Infotech Research Group's data quadrant for features and functionality, but we were also ranked #1 in their emotional footprint report, which really focuses in on the relationship between our support team and our sales team, our leadership team, with our client organizations. What we believe and what we have seen through our clients and their experience using Copilot for DevOps was they were able to jumpstart their elicitation, focus on more satisfying work, be more productive, and ultimately all of those things brought our clients joy, which brought us joy, which is part of the reason that our team, our dev team, worked diligently on getting to the next level with Copilot for DevOps Plus in such a short period of time. Before I turn over to Copilot for DevOps Plus and we look at all the new capabilities, I wanted to share a quick case study. We had an insurance company client of ours who was finding that their business analysts were facing writer's block. And so as a result, they kicked off using Copilot for DevOps in their modern requirements experience with an ADO and found that they, through elicitation, by helping them brainstorm, they were able to rapidly get over that writer's block, and then ultimately had their testers start to create test cases using Copilot for DevOps, ultimately increasing the velocity, increasing the accuracy, and ultimately eliminating the challenge that they were faced with them having writer's block. So this is one little use case I wanted to share with folks with our original iteration, but that really brings us to what's new and what are the powers of Copilot for DevOps Plus can add to this current experience. We've added 4 areas that we believe are going to take this to the next level. #1, Copilot for DevOps Plus puts more control into your hands. It'll allow you to choose which LLM model you would like to use. 3.5 is faster and cheaper when it comes to token consumption. 4.0 Turbo is more intelligent and does a better job of reasoning. So if you're dealing with more complex matters, then maybe you want to elect for that. You can do that on the fly. It allows you more control around the output, from language to style to length. And then lastly, it allows you to add additional instructions when you're using Copilot for DevOps and prompting into the LLM to help you dial in what exactly you're looking for to help improve those outputs you're receiving. Dynamic prompt, seamlessly integrate and manipulate work items from your queries to interact with them and process your query data efficiently. We have Pseudocode Generation that'll transform your ideas into structured, easy to understand pseudocode, streamlining the development process. And then lastly, the 4th capability that we're adding in Copilot for DevOps Plus is test script generation, which will automatically generate comprehensive test scripts, ensuring robust and reliable code with minimal effort. If you haven't attended one of our webinars before or haven't been by our website, we do offer a 30-day free trial at no cost or obligation. The link will be dropped in the chat shortly. It's a great way to understand if modern requirements or Copilot for DevOps is the right fit for your organization. Throughout this webinar, our hope is that you'll get a good sense of some of these new capabilities and get a sense of, is this something that can really help increase the velocity of your processes, help you with accuracy, and ultimately make work fun again. So that being all said, I think it's time for me to turn it over to Asif, our Chief Technologist, to walk you through all the new and exciting capabilities of Copilot for DevOps Plus. Asif, the floor is yours.
All right, excellent. Hey folks, good morning, good afternoon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and then I'm going to demonstrate Modern Requirements Copilot for DevOps version 2. This new capability we're launching, in my opinion, is at least twice as more powerful as the original Copilot version 1. So this is version 2. We have doubled the power, if not more. So let me show you how it works. I'm going to shut off my camera so I can focus simply on the content. All right. So guys, here we are. So when I was preparing for this webinar, the first thing I thought, I should create some content. Okay. So I thought, you know what? I should build requirements for a case management system for hospital. And so I said, how do I do that? So, guess what I did? I went to Copilot. I went to Copilot for DevOps, and I told I want to elicit requirements. And I got my features from here. And so these features you see here are really from Copilot. And then I got its user stories and its test cases and so on and so forth. Okay. So I got a whole bunch of information using Copilot, which was already part of the original version 1 of Copilot. Now, so what has changed, right? So there's a few things that have changed. Actually, before I show you what has changed, let me show you the output of a couple of function points we have created. So one of the new function points we've created is the ability to generate pseudocode. Okay, so you could write your requirements and acceptance criteria, as in this user story, on performing initial assessment of vital sign measurements and looking at medical history and all that content information. So now Copilot can take a look at your description and acceptance criteria and actually produce a pseudocode for you in one of many different formats. Okay. And then for those amongst you who are interested in testing, you can actually ask Copilot to create test scripts. So this is test scripts for Selenium, which is one of the tools testers use for automating test cases. So this actually will produce your scripts. When our testers started to use this, they found that they reduced their test scripting effort by 60%. Because obviously at this point, you may not have implemented the solution. So this will create the entire framework, and you need to replace some IDs and some other stuff to complete the work. But our internal teams have found this to be extremely helpful. Okay. So Copilot Plus can help you with that. So, oh yeah, what I also did, by the way, I went to the test case, and in the test case, which by the way was created by Copilot, I also created test script from the test case itself. Okay, so in one instance, I went to the requirement and I used that to create a pseudocode, and from the pseudocode, I created test scripts. Here, I went to test case and I created the test script for that test case. All right, so lots of options, lots of powers that you have access to. So let's take a look at what is the change in the UI. What additional capabilities have we added? So a few things. One is there's a token status. So as Shihan was mentioning, you will have 250,000 tokens if you're just using this thing as a freebie, as sort of as the free version of Copilot that comes with MR. You'll see what your quota is and what is your consumption that you've done so far. Okay, so at any point, this is a monthly quota you'll get depending on the package you have. I obviously have a very high-end package, but the quota will be reset at the first of the month. So that's one. The other thing that we did was within all of these function points, what you can now do is you'll see this area called custom instructions we have added. And in the custom instructions, you can choose which model you want to use. Okay. So do you want to use ChatGPT 4 Turbo or 3.5 Turbo? And the difference between the two really is that 3.5 is faster. However, 4 is much more intelligent, right? So, which is a good compromise. So you can choose what you want to use. You can tell it to be more creative or less creative. Do you want long answers, short answers, and language? So somebody had asked a question about language support. So you can actually choose that you want an output in German or French or whatever language that you have the need for, okay? So by default, it will use the default logic. So if the question is in English, if the content is in French, output will be French. But if it's a mixed content, then the output would be something mixed, or it'll choose for itself. But now you can be explicit and say, hey, I want my output in simplified Chinese, or I want it in Dutch, or whatever the case may be. All right. So, oh, by the way, a lot of these functions that we are implementing is because our clients have come back to us and said, this is what we love about it, and this is where you can make things better for us. And so we are taking your input and implementing these things in the system. Oh yeah, the next thing is, so there's custom instructions. So because we are in the Elicit, where it's going to give us a list of work item titles, and then it'll go get the description and all the other information. So you can provide custom instructions. For example, you could say that instead of, so let's just go here and say, I want, actually, you know what? You could go here and say, write title in the format as a user I can so that. Okay. So then it will always use that format. So, but if you have a particular format, you can tell it what format you want. It's produce the output that way. For the details, such as description and acceptance criteria, you could give it further direction. Okay. Because of course, with AI, if you know what you want, tell it what you want, and it'll give you the right answer or a better answer, right? So now you can give it much more direction than before, because before it was only 3.5, which was the only option. These were all sort of hard-coded. The instructions were all hard-coded, and you could not modify. Now you can sort of alter these as you need to, and you're just adding further instructions here. Okay, so that's added, and that's added everywhere. So it's not only in Elicit, it is in analysis and translate or convert to whatever, and all of those places. Okay, now let me show you one example. So if you look at this Elicit function, so what I had done was I was using GPT 3.5 Turbo, and that's it. And this is the result it gave me. Okay, so it gave me a bunch of requirements or user stories, and it gave me a description and some acceptance criteria. Okay. Now this was done 3.5, but what I did was in this example, I used ChatGPT 4, and I gave it specific instructions. I said, the title should be in the following format. As a user, I cancel that format, and that the acceptance criteria I want in a Gherkin format. Okay, because a lot of people love Gherkin, and Gherkin is very readable. So what did this do? What this did was, firstly, you can see, so the user stories now are saying exactly so that I can make payments quickly, right? But if you look at the previous instance, it was using credit card, and that is all. There was no so that. Now I gave it further instructions and it's producing the right output. Further to that, since I had told him I want my acceptance criteria to be in Gherkin format, is doing the given, when, then format, right? So given this, when this happens, then this should happen, right? Much more readable. But of course, you can sort of use the conventional acceptance criteria format. But the point I'm making here is you can provide your own instructions on how do you want the output to be. Okay, so now you're partnering with the system a lot better. Of course, you can leave it as default, and it will produce pretty good results. However, having this option allows you to be much more specific as to what you want from Copilot. All right. So that's one example. Here is another example. So in this thing, I did analysis on my requirement, and it told me that it's a 7 out of 10 on clarity. It's 10 out of 10 in consistency, and so on. So this is using 3.5. Okay. And then what I did, I went through, and this here I chose GPT-4 Turbo, and it gave me a much more detailed response. Because you remember, GPT-4 is smarter, it's more intelligent, it can do better analysis and calculations. Okay. So now this is going through a more rigorous analysis, and it's telling you how you can improve your requirements. Okay. All right. Then let's take a look at the new functions. So we've added 3 new functions. So I already mentioned pseudocode to you. So in the pseudocode, you can choose, actually, no, let me choose this requirement, say. And what we'll do is we'll go to pseudocode and we'll say, okay, so I want provide my gender is too simple a requirement. Let me pick something more interesting. Yeah, so let's pick this one, right? So I'll pick this requirement and I'll go into here and I'm going to say for that requirement, which is much more interesting. So this is the initial assessment in a hospital. I can choose what format do I want my pseudocode in. So I can use the standard, so the pseudocode format you might have learned in school, or you might be scribbling often just to get your thoughts cleared. You can use that. Or you can do it in C#, or you want to use produce in JavaScript, right? Or you're into Python. You can use Python to create this. So whatever your requirements are, you can just ask it to produce the JavaScript or TypeScript or whatever language, or if you want to take the script from here and copy and paste it into Word macro, then you can have it create a VBA script for you as well, right? So that's one. That's the other one, that we have pseudocode generation now, and basically you go and it'll do the analysis and produce a detailed VBA script for this function. Okay. Now, depending on how long it's going to take, 30 seconds, a minute, or whatever, however long it takes to write it. So I'm going to stop it. We don't have to go through that right now. The other one was test scripts. So again, if you're interested in testing, certainly your organization must be, you can ask Copilot to create a test script in Selenium, or Cypress or whatever framework you like. Okay. And let's say we don't have the right framework here. What you should do is just give it a custom instruction. Say, hey, don't do it in Selenium, do it in this, whatever this is, right? So you can override the language selection there, right? And if you want your output to be better, then use this GPT-4 Turbo, which I would highly recommend in cases especially like this one, right? So use GPT-4, which is part of Copilot Plus, where you can do that. Okay, and then you can go and create your Selenium script, and it'll go and do the needful and produce the Selenium script. Okay. And so it's going to do all of this and then format the data for you beautifully and organize it in the end. You see the direction the world is now moving in. And certainly we are trying to be at the forefront of a lot of these things, is how do we assist organizations that do requirements and beyond to better do the work they do it faster, with a higher quality, and with a lot of intelligent support in the process, right? And that's what we are trying to do. And now this is the response. This is the conclusion now, right? So it's given us our test script. So if you are in quality assurance, this is a lifesaver. And this is what I was talking about when our testers looked at it. And they found that it provides the appropriate framework to build on. So in the tests we did, we found it saved 60% of the testers' time. Okay. Now, so that's that. Now, which leads me to the final piece. The final piece is called dynamic prompt. Now, dynamic prompt is very powerful, more powerful than all the other things put together that I've shown you thus far, right? And what this allows you to do is to select one or two queries and give it a prompt as to what you want it to do. So let's take a look at 3 examples. Here is one example of a prompt. So here what I did was I gave it a set of features my CRM system has. So assume for a moment I sell a CRM system, right? So this is what my CRM system does. And when people come to me and they ask me that we want your system to, we want a CRM system that does A, B, and C, they give me the requirements. I need to do mapping between what my system does and what the client wants, and identify the gaps. So I can respond to it, I can estimate my effort, and so on. So in this case, I've written this, I've also saved it, so I didn't have to type it up in front of you. But here's the prompt. I will give you the CRM features in query 1, which is this, and my client user requirements in query 2. I want you to map the user requirements with CRM features in an HTML format and provide details of coverage and gaps. Okay. So when I did that, this is the response it came up with. Okay. So here it is showing me my client's requirements and which feature of my system does it map to. Okay. So if I want to analyze market trends, this is done within my opportunity management system, but it is only partially done. Okay. And then it goes, it says, okay, you know what, this thing, examine the demand and desire of users, is not covered at all. So that is something that's missing. Okay. And so on and so forth. So you can see it covers most of it, but there are some cases where it does not cover. But this is a useful thing to know. Now, we've been working with clients as we have been building this capability, and people spend hours on end. In fact, one client told us they take 2 months with a few people doing a detailed analysis of what they have and what they don't have compared to what the clients want. Now they can do it in a day, right? So a tremendous, and a day by one person, not even like the whole team, right? A tremendous value add. Now, this is just one example of how you can use dynamic prompt. Here's another one. So in this case, what I did was I wrote a series of requirements for my security, okay? But since my system needs to be compliant with ISO ICE 27001 standard, I want Copilot to tell me to which of the requirements that I have here are meeting the needs of ISO and which ones are missing from my standards so I can do something about it. Okay. So I give it the query, and that's what I'm telling it. Tell me which features are missing from my requirements. And in the result, it actually comes back and says, this is what the ISO 27001 security features are needed. This is what I have stated in my requirements that we do support or will support. And these are the missing requirements from my application. Okay. So now you can start to see how you can merge your Azure DevOps work item through queries and connecting that to the larger knowledge base available in the world, and then being able to infer things like this one. And the last one. The last prompt I have for you is what I've done is I've gotten a set of customer requirements. So in my customer requirements, so I'm trying to implement a system. I want to implement a CRM. And what I want to know is that all my customer requirements, which of these features are available in Microsoft Dynamics, and what is the coverage? Okay. So given that, it actually gave me this response. It said, these are the things I wanted. This is the description I gave it. Yes, these are available fully or in a limited way, or it's not available, and so on. Okay. So dynamic prompt is going to be massive because you can take the information you have and then you can just ask Copilot to do a bunch of analysis for you, right? You could take a set of requirements and say, prioritize these. You could take a set of requirements and say, as a set of requirements, how should I break this up into different sprints? Or from this set of requirements, tell me what are the contradictions, or what are the integration test cases, and on and on and on. So you can just imagine whatever you may need. And I think the dynamic prompt piece is just brilliant. There is a variety of other things that we are implementing, and I will talk about that just before we close this call. But guys, in essence, that is the current state of Copilot. We released the original Copilot about 3 months ago. We are coming up with V2 now with Copilot Plus, with a lot more tokens and GPT-4 support. In the subsequent 3-4 months, you'll see another set of functionalities being released. And really, most of these requirements we are hearing from our clients. So we are answering your call in enhancing Copilot. So with that, let me hand it over to Shihan to do the next steps, and then we'll do Q&A.
Thank you, Asif. This is the time I'd like to kick off another poll. So if I can ask Darshini if you can kick off that poll. So given what you've seen today, are you looking to implement Copilot for DevOps? Okay. And the next question is, how useful will dynamic prompt be for you and your organization? Okay. So the overwhelming response here is extremely useful and very useful. So that's great to hear. And actually, in fact, some of our strategic clients are the ones who were really excited about it, and they decided on modern requirements, knowing that this capability is coming out, and on the sheer capability of them saving, or the time saving and the accuracy that they're looking for in 2024. Given the even the economic environment of trying to do more with less. Copilot for DevOps Plus with dynamic prompt is really that value add that many of our clients and prospects were looking for. So thank you for your responses. And what I wanted to quickly do now is share a quick summary of what Copilot for DevOps is today and what's available at no additional cost in modern requirements. And so what you see on the left-hand side, the ability to analyze, translate, elicit, summarize, and then convert 3 different ways, and paraphrase, elaborate, custom instructions, all of those capabilities using GPT 3.5 Turbo is available in the larger suite of modern requirements if you have a Enterprise or Enterprise Plus license. So on the left-hand side, everything is already available in modern requirements. On the right-hand side are the additional capabilities that Copilot for DevOps Plus adds. It is an add-on. We understand that not everyone is going to be, looking for these particular capabilities, but it does add a lot of value in terms of time savings, accuracy, and it's kind of fun to use. Now, it is an add-on, and we're treating it as an add-on to enhance your Copilot experience, given the number of tokens that we're going to be offered. Now, it's 250,000 tokens at no cost, additional cost in modern requirements. But when you look at Copilot for DevOps Plus, the amount of consumption, dynamic prompt or pseudocode generation, or test code generation would require, it would generally, we would expect that there'd be a higher consumption of tokens, and thus Copilot for DevOps Plus does come at a cost of $20 per month per user, but then you're getting 5 million in tokens. In the weeks to come, Copilot for DevOps Plus, which includes everything on the left, so everything that you see on the screen, is going to become available through the Azure Marketplace as a standalone item. So if you are a modern requirements user and you're using Copilot for DevOps on the left-hand side, if you're using this today and you're really excited about some of these new capabilities, then great, you can upgrade to it and then you're off to the races. The other benefit of having modern requirements with Copilot for DevOps Plus enabled is that you'll be able to call Copilot from diagramming, you'll be able to call Copilot from multiple different tools within modern requirements, enhancing that experience. Now, if the requirements management aspect is not what you're looking for, but you're really looking for that AI experience in Azure DevOps, then maybe Copilot for DevOps Plus standalone is something that you may want to consider. So I wanted to call that out, and I want to share that with you before we dive into our Q&A. So with that being said, I'm going to kick off our Q&A session, Asif, and we have some time and we have a bunch of questions to dive into. So let me get started. Okay, we're answering some of the questions as we go here. Great. All right. So the first question I'm going to ask is, I'm currently a modern requirements user. Should I use Copilot for DevOps with MR license or use Copilot for DevOps Plus? Now, I quickly touched upon that, but Asif, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Again, so if you're already using,
go ahead.
If you're already using Copilot for Sorry, if you're already using modern requirements, I would suggest you get it with modern requirements, not standalone. There's a variety of function points that you can invoke, for example, Copilot directly from a smart dock or from a VPM. We are adding a bunch of additional capabilities to Copilot that will be invoked within context of modern requirements. Like generating diagrams or talking to your diagrams or talking to your smart docs and so on and so forth. Of course, that doesn't make sense in standalone because those are modern requirements functions. So yeah, so if you do have modern requirements, get it with MR. If you don't, so let's say you are a developer, you don't use modern requirements for authoring, then you can just get it standalone.
Perfect. Thank you, Asif. The next question I have here, and I just want to, maybe I'll handle this one myself, is Copilot for DevOps Plus will be offered with Enterprise or Enterprise Plus licenses? The answer to that is no. Copilot for DevOps Plus is an upgrade. And the reason why it's not being included is because what's included today is Copilot for DevOps, which comes with 250,000 tokens. The Copilot for DevOps Plus is an add-on to Enterprise or Enterprise Plus experience because of the added number of tokens that it's coming with, and then it'll also include the added functionality. So I hope I answered your question there, Patrice. The next question is, does each optionally selected AI model consume a different number of tokens available to an analyst in a given month?
The answer is yes. So we provide what we call Copilot tokens. So for example, if you're using the free version with modern requirements, then it gives you 250,000 Copilot tokens. Now, Copilot token is the same thing as ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo tokens. Now, when you use 4 Turbo is it's a more expensive API to call. So there's a translation that happens from a token count point of view, so that it does consume higher token. So yes, there's a different token consumption for different models.
Thank you, Asif. The next question I think I'll be able to field here is there a way to not use AI in the tool for companies who have security constraints with the use of AI? With respect to modern requirements, yes. There is a admin level master turn-off switch where you can turn off all AI capabilities. And we did that specifically for the organizations who are not quite yet to take the plunge into using and augmenting their staff with AI. So there is a master turn-off switch. The next question is, are customized GPTs supported, which can be trained with individual information?
That is actually coming soon. We are going to be releasing a version called Copilot Enterprise, where you can train it either with your own work items from Azure DevOps, or you can upload your artifacts to it, like your training material, your user manuals, your historical records, and then Copilot will train itself on that content so that when it responds, it can use both what it already knew and your private knowledge that now it's trained for, which it will only use for your conversation. That knowledge would not be used with any other user of the system other than yours, your organization, that is. So that is coming soon.
Okay. The next question I have here is the capability to choose the output language will be offered in regular Copilot for DevOps? So is the ability to choose the output language a capability that is coming to Copilot for DevOps that comes natively with MR?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Okay, next one. My customer has a company-owned LLM model installation and is using MR. Is it possible to connect this instance to MR? I think we kind of answered that question already with pointing to other LLMs, and we talked about enterprise level of Copilot that's coming. I think
so Shian, there's actually a nuance here. So
okay.
if you are using, for example, using Llama from Facebook, or you're using Bedrock from Amazon, we are actually working with Amazon as they are one of our clients to implement Bedrock into the Copilot system. So if you do have a particular LLM that you're interested in, please reach out to us and we can discuss how we can support you. But by default, we support OpenAI, by OpenAI, or OpenAI on Azure.
Okay. The next question is an interesting one. What constitutes the consumption of a token? I'm wondering how long 250K credits would last.
So that depends on a variety of factors, right? I mean, how fast can you spend $1,000? Well, if you buy Gucci, you'll be done in a day or in an hour. But if you go to a dollar store, it might last you a long time. So all that to say, it depends on how big, how much you're using, how long the responses are you getting, which model are you using, and so on. We suspect that the 250,000 tokens that we're giving with modern requirements, enterprise and plus, is a good test bed. It's a good way to start. I think once you get serious, you'll want to get Copilot Plus, not only because it's got a lot more capability, but you'll need the tokens. And the fact is that one good elicitation call will pay for a month's fee for using Copilot. So from a cost ROI point of view, in my opinion, it is a no-brainer. But I do suspect that the 250,000K to 250K token would be consumed relatively quickly.
I do want to highlight that that does reset monthly. And so it's 250,000 tokens a month. And over the course of the last few months, our experience has been pretty good. But when you think about, I'm going to say thirstier capabilities like dynamic prompt, it will consume. And if you choose, 4.0, it will be a thirstier option. So you'll go through tokens a little bit quicker. So just a little add on. There's one more question here on the same topic. I want to share it. Is there a charge if the tokens are exceeded?
So when you have used 75% of the token, you'll see a message. When you hit 90%, you'll see a message. So we don't have an automatic chargeback model. So if you want to upgrade, then you can contact us and we'll upgrade you to the next tier of Copilot. But we'll give you notifications so you can be proactive about upgrading if needed.
Okay. I have this question. I think is more of a support question. We'll have to connect with you directly, but I'm going to ask it for the purpose of anyone who is an MR modern requirements client today. Is if I have modern requirements, should I be seeing Copilot for DevOps in my left nav automatically, or is there something I must do to activate that? So as an existing client, our support team will be able to get you up and running. If you are a holder of an enterprise or enterprise level license, which would mean and you're up to date. So if you are on a perpetual license, you are up to date on support and upgrades, then yes, you should. And we sent out the instructions. So I have your name here. And so what we'll do is we'll reach out to you to ensure that you do the necessary step to ensure that you have Copilot for DevOps working for you. It's a matter of syncing your license.
Yeah, and I think by default, if it's turned off under the account admin area,
Correct.
you can turn it on, and then you'll have it. And it's not on the left bar; it is within the backlog and the query and Smart Doc and all other places. So yeah, but of course, our support team can help you.
This next question was answered, and the link was shared to around security, but I think it's for the purpose of everyone on this call, I will ask it more broadly. So the question was, is there a security risk using AI? Asif?
Um, so I can answer the question, is there a security risk using Copilot DevOps? And the answer is no. We use, as I said, Microsoft Service on OpenAI, or we'll use OpenAI directly. It's your choice which one you want to use. And they both have provided detailed statements on how they are not using any of the content given to them for training. So your content will always remain yours. It never trains the AI system, number one. Number two, the data communication with these services are all encrypted, and they are never stored unless you choose to create a work item in your Azure DevOps instance. Then, of course, they're stored in your tenant. Otherwise, the data is secure. We do have a white paper on that. So if you're interested, please reach out and we'll provide that to you. Plus, I believe it is on our website as well.
Perfect, thank you. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and give everyone a warning that we are almost approaching the top of the hour. A couple of things. We are going to continue and answer some more questions. If you want to stay on, great, thank you. We'll answer some of these questions and you'll kind of hear it. The recording will become available by the end of the week and will be also on our website. Lastly, for any of those who have to jump at the top of the hour, you will be receiving a survey via email, and we would strongly encourage you to leave your feedback. We're always looking to improve. So with that, thank you, and I'm going to continue to ask some of these questions, Asif, and we'll continue to field them. Okay. Does Copilot for DevOps with an MR license allow you to use different AI? Oh, we already answered that question. I'm going to skip that one. Sorry. Given the licensing model, if we license only a few users with Copilot for DevOps Plus, how does token consumption work for the users on Enterprise using the standard version of Copilot for DevOps? I can read that again. Given the licensing model, if we license only a few users with Copilot for DevOps Plus, how does token consumption work for the users on Enterprise using the standard version of Copilot for DevOps?
So the license consumption is per user per month. If the license is user-based, so if you're user-based and you have a license for Copilot Plus, you'll get 5 million. If you have Copilot Standard, you'll get 250,000 tokens. That is per user per month. If you do have a floating license, and then the floating license is a pooled token strategy. So if you have 10 people on a license profile, then it's floating. So that would mean each floating license would get 15 million times 10. And so it'd be 150 million tokens shared amongst however many people that are going to be using those floating licenses. So it sort of depends on whether it's user-based or floating, is it paid or free, but that's the general framework.
Perfect. Next question. So this one's pretty direct, but maybe I think is worthwhile, is what is the LLM model selector?
What is the LLM model selector?
In other words, choosing which, turbo, 3.5 or choosing 4.0. I think that's what the question's asking. Yeah.
Yeah. So just one thing to remember, at the admin level, you can choose do you want OpenAI or Azure OpenAI service? So at the admin level, you can choose which direction your organization wants to go with. The second thing is you can also choose which of the models, say you choose Azure. So from Azure, which of the models you want to make available to your users. So maybe you would say, I only want 3.5 turbo, whereas 4 turbo might be better, but we're going to be cost efficient and we're going to use 3.5 turbo. And that's fine. So you can just choose that and everybody then will use 3.5 turbo. So you can configure and also choose at the runtime which model you want to use based on the master filter that was set up at the account level.
Excellent. So this one's an interesting one. It's a little long, so I'm going to read through it. I'm a business analyst that uses ChatGPT 4.0 outside of Azure to create my user stories acceptance criteria and importing them into Azure. So I appreciate that Copilot has built this all into the tool. However, my company is getting away from custom development. What is the business case for using Azure for us as we move towards a SaaS solutions?
So of course, when you're doing requirements, I mean, even if you're doing SaaS, you probably do requirements. I mean, what do you want your system to do, right? How do you want the system configured? What are the rules you want in it, and so on and so forth. So Copilot can certainly help you do your requirements of implementing, say you're implementing Salesforce, right? You still have to spec out all the details of what you want, or at least the deltas from the out of the box system. And Copilot can help you with that. Instead of you doing manually, now you can do it natively. Now, a lot of people use OpenAI directly to write requirements and copy and paste it and so on and so forth, but it's a lot of copy paste. It is out of context. So you lose a lot of productivity by not doing this directly within Azure DevOps.
Thank you. We have 4 more questions, so I'm going to go through them relatively quickly. I'm going to go with this one first. Is there an ability for prototyping based in a use case or requirements description? Again, is there an ability for prototyping based in use case or requirements description?
So there is. So we are going to be releasing in vNext. So not the one that we're releasing in February, but the one after that. So we are releasing the ability for you to prompt that I want to create a wireframe for this type of a screen. It'll create the screen for you. Or you can prompt that I want to create a diagram for purchase processing workflow, and it'll create that for you. So both the prototyping bit and the diagram bit is coming shortly.
Perfect. This one's an interesting one, Asif. How is MR reapplying the learnings within the prompts and results of the Copilot users from GPT? Question. And then, is MR building its own slice of GPT to enhance the requirements process for specific industries or products or types of markets?
So a couple of things. Firstly, so again, from a privacy point of view, whatever you're sending into the system, none of your content or even the response is being used for training. Okay, so that's number one. So your data is private, it's yours. Nobody ever gets to even remotely know it. Number two, what we are doing is we have been working with a couple of clients that are, one is a life sciences company and one is an insurance company. And we've been working with them to say, what are the types of requirements you're creating? And in your project lifecycle, what does that body of knowledge look like? And what if we can define a meta model to do that and let Copilot really work with the analyst to flesh out the entire body of knowledge? Okay. either as an autonomous agent or as an interactive agent. And so we've been working on a few different models there. And I think in the next months to come, you'll see some very exciting features coming out of Copilot for that.
Excellent. And if you turn off the master AI integration switch, will the automation script generation still be possible? Additionally, is there a PDF somewhere that will show what features are not possible if you do turn off the AI integration?
So if you turn off AI integration, then Copilot is not available. You cannot generate test scripts. You cannot generate pseudocode. You cannot elicit requirements with Copilot. So that switch is the kill switch for Copilot. So if your organization is in the process of figuring out how to optimize with artificial intelligence, and you turn it off, then you don't have artificial intelligence. And of course, Copilot is all about AI.
Excellent, thank you. So Asif, at this point, we're going to conclude the Q&A portion of our webinar today, and I'm going to turn it over to you for some closing remarks.
Yeah, actually, guys, there was one question that was interesting. This question was about the ability to prototype, right? And what we have is Modern Requirements has released a product called Codeless1 that actually will take your requirements, a description of the requirements, and create a fully functional prototype. But a functioning prototype, just not a pretty screen, but a functioning prototype. So if you're interested in that, go to www.codeless1.com and take a look at this other product we have just launched a little while ago. So that's there. Certainly, guys, 2024 has started with a bang. We are about to release a new version of Modern Requirements with a ton of great features. Copilot Plus version 2 with functionality for everyone. We launched codeless1.com, our no-code platform as well. We have not only doubled the number of clients users we had in 2023, but just the way this year has begun, we have had a lot of interest in a lot of exciting areas. I expect we will do the same again in 2024. One of the key things I enjoy, by the way, one of my favorite poet is Rumi, and he has a poem that says, "Let the beauty you love be what you do." And at Modern Requirements, we absolutely love building things that our clients want. We like to think out of the box and work with our clients to build amazing products. So thank you all for your support. Hope you'll enjoy Copilot. If you come up with other use cases that we should support with Copilot, please let us know. And I wish you well and stay safe. Bye-bye.